I feel like Steve Jobs that got kicked out of his own company. You found the company and then they kick you out. Hare Krishna. So we probably did this, but anyway, let's do it again because there's a lot to talk about. It is from the Srimad Bhagavatam 8.3.17. Gajendra prayed, since an animal such as I has surrendered unto you, who are supremely liberated, certainly you will release me from this dangerous position. Indeed, being extremely merciful, you incessantly try to deliver me. This is such a beautiful verse. I was just listening to this guy on YouTube who's in love with Sanskrit and explaining all the benefits, just reciting the language. I was thinking, oh, we should recite the Sanskrit of all these verses just for our purification. Purport: only Krishna can deliver us from this material existence. Indeed, he is always trying to deliver us. He is within our hearts and is not at all inattentive. His only aim is to deliver us from material life. It is not that he becomes attentive to us only when we offer prayers to him. Even before we offer prayers, he incessantly tries to deliver us. He is never lazy in regard to our deliverance. It is the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord that he always tries to bring us back home, back to Godhead. God is liberated, and he tries to make us liberated. But although he is constantly trying, we refuse to accept his instructions. Nonetheless, he has not become angry. Therefore, he is described here as Buddhi Karunaya, unlimitedly merciful in delivering us from this material condition of life and taking us back home, back to Godhead. So let me see if I can put that in the chat so that I can. It wouldn't let me put in the chat before because it was too long. So there's the verse, and I'll put in the purport. Does anyone recognize this, that we discussed this last time, maybe a week ago? Or we don't have, our memories aren't good enough to remember what we discussed. Okay. So in the verse, if you look at the verse, you will see this interesting statement. Gajendra's praying. He's praying. First he says, the first point is, even though I'm an animal, so, sometimes we think we're fallen, but Gajendra is an elephant. So, the possibilities of an elephant getting mercy, one would think are more difficult than a human being getting it. So, but he's making the point that Bhakti is a Haituki. Krishna is not qualifying us, so even an animal can get it. What to speak of a human being? What to speak of a devotee? So, sometimes we think, where's the mercy? How will I get the mercy? But Prabhupada said, Krishna's giving mercy in so many ways. What to speak of in protecting so many living entities and taking care of so many living entities. So what to speak of you, his devotee, right? So that's one point. Yes, like Krishna will never give me mercy. Well, they never take care of him. He's taking care of everyone. So that once we become a devotee, as you know, the example Prabhupada would often give, that the king takes care of all the citizens, that's his responsibility, but he personally takes care of his own family. And there's a story in this connection. There's a very nice story. You may remember this story. I've told it before. I think it's important to say things 3 times. It usually takes 3 times before you can remember. But I think this was an Akbar story who asked his minister, who was his minister? Gopal Ban or some. He asked his minister, you say God comes personally to this world. Why does he have to come personally? And he said, yes, it's true. He comes personally. But why? Why? Tell me. I'll tell you later. So how many of you know this story? Raise your hand or kind of remember it. Yeah. Was it Nishta Bhakti? Was it Gopal Ban or who was it? Do you remember? Who was the minister?
Birbal, Akbar Birbal.
Birbal. Birbal, yeah, Birbal. Birbal. So Birbal is very intelligent. Birbal. So Birbal said, yeah, I'll answer later. So Birbal, there was a lake on the palace property, and Birbal had a look-alike doll or wax, maybe it was a wax made out of wax or some way. He had a look-alike made of the king's son. And he arranged to fool the king by bringing the king to the pond in an emergency and saying your son is drowning in the pond. It was like showed the boat capsized. I guess the son must have been very young, and there were all these guards around, and so any guard could have gone in the water, but the king, ripped off his jacket or whatever, and he jumped in the water, and then he saw that it was a model. It wasn't really his son. So he's like, okay, Birbal, why did you do this? He said, well, that's the answer to your question. You had so many guards. You could have just asked any guard to go save your son, but you saved him personally out of affection. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. So, as devotees, we feel like maybe we got in the back door kind of. So Krishna's like, well, you're backdoor Kali Yuga devotees, so, you don't count. But that's never been stated anywhere. And in fact, if you look at the evidence, we must count because Mahaprabhu came and said, all right, I cannot let you rot without love of God. I'm going to come and just give it to you. Like you're going to get it. So there's evidence there that Mahaprabhu is merciful to us. But if you doubt it, then he's merciful to Gajendra. He was merciful to Shivanand Sen's dog. He was merciful to the lions and tigers and elephants and the other animals in the forest. So that's the first point of this verse. And if we go to the next point, the next point is, I've surrendered to you. So there's a verse, and I think it may be in connection with Bibhishan came to Lord Ram. And Hanuman and others were doubtful because Bibhishan is Ravana's brother, and they thought he's just pretending that he wants to surrender, but actually he's a spy and he's going to find out everything about us. And the Lord Ram said, but he's come as a surrendered soul. I have to accept him. So there's a verse in Nectar Devotion quoted by Lord Ram that anyone who surrenders unto me, I will protect them. I will take care of them. They'll become mine, my guardian. It's kind of like Christianity. You surrender to Jesus and Jesus takes care of you. Well, this what was spoken by Lord Ram is almost identical to what the Christians say about Jesus, that you give yourself to me, surrender to me, I become your guardian. So if Bibhishan, who's Ravana's brother, who is on the opposition side, is coming to surrender and Lord Ram accepts him, certainly he accepts us who are not on the opposition, who are trying to be devotees. So first point, so there's 2 points. If we surrender, we're protected even if we're an animal, or you could say a synonym for disqualified. And then the next point he makes is, it's interesting, it's interesting that an elephant has this kind of intelligence, isn't it? And that's why people believe this is mythology. How could an elephant? Have you ever met an elephant that speaks? Number one. Have you ever met an elephant that if he could speak, could teach you Bhagavatam philosophy? I don't think so. What do you think? I don't think so. Do you? No. Problem there, yeah. So we have faith. This is a true story. There's no evidence it's not true. And even if we say it's mythology, it doesn't matter because it's Siddhanta, because what's being spoken is Siddhanta. But Gajendra makes, the next point he makes is, what did he say? You will release me from this dangerous position because you're liberated, because you're not bound like I am, so you can free me. So, as Prabhupada gives the example, if your hands are tied, the only person who can free you is someone whose hands are not tied. So Guru and Krishna, their hands are not tied. So he says, you're supremely liberated, so you can release me. So release me can be an analogy in this case for releasing us from the three modes of nature. Of course, he's being asked to be released from the grip of the alligator, but we're all, let's say, under the grip of Maya. So because you are transcendental, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan, Shashvatam, Divyam, because you are Divyam, transcendental, so you're not in the jail. Your hands are not tied. And then the last point, well, there's two more points. Extremely merciful. So he's speaking to Krishna and is saying he's extremely merciful. And Lord Chaitanya is more merciful than the extremely merciful. So in this verse, Krishna is described as extremely merciful. We know Krishna is extremely merciful. So who's more merciful than Krishna? Well, that's Radha. She's more merciful, the mother. Mother is always generally more merciful than the father. Hampers the kids more. But whatever the case may be, Radha is more merciful than Krishna. She personified. Krishna allows Radha to personify his compassion. It comes through her. So then Mahaprabhu comes as a manifestation of Radha and Krishna, but specifically in the mood of Radha. So that Krishna is all merciful, and he comes even in a more merciful form. So if you ever think Krishna is not merciful to me, then there's no evidence to back that up. And the last thing, you incessantly try to deliver me. So this is like a beautiful meditation. Somebody could write a poem on this. It's so beautiful. It may be difficult to get out of the material world, but there's somebody who's trying to get you out. And that somebody, his name starts with a K. Can you guess who that is? And it ends with an A. Yeah. And I'll give you another hint. The second letter is R. Yeah. You guessed it, right? So as we began by saying, prayer comes from the mood of feeling the power of material nature and our weakness, our humble position in it. But this verse is helping us, or reminding us, or encouraging us to that if we remember, Krishna wants us to get out, and Krishna is helping us and ready to help us and always helping us. And there's only one problem, and it's not him. And the problem is, it's not that Krishna doesn't want to help, and it's not that Maya is strong. Those are not problems, although Maya is strong, insurmountable. Davihi Esha. Gunamayi, Mama Maya, Duradaya. Even though Krishna says my Maya is insurmountable, that's not the problem. How could that be a problem if Krishna's incessantly trying to help you get out or conquer Maya? Because Maya is under his control. Maya is not competing with him. Christianity thinks Satan is competing with God. So, Satan's kind of out of control. He's a power that can influence the spiritual. We don't see Maya as Satan because Maya is a devotee and Maya is being employed. Maya is not trying to take the company down. She's employed by the company. And she's executing her will, her job under the will of Krishna, according to Brahma Samhita. What's the verse? Who knows the verse in Brahma Samhita? Maya is like a shadow of the Chit potency. Maya hi yasya jagadam deshatani shute, maybe. Tragunyatadvi sayaveda vitayama. I'm not sure if that's the verse. So Maya is not competing. Even though Maya is very strong, she's not competing. And so if Krishna says, hey, I know Maya is powerful and on your own, you can't defeat her, but I'll help you. I'll help you. Then you'd think, okay, it's a done deal. This is going to happen. Maya is going to help us. I mean, Krishna's going to help me, so no problem. So Krishna never gives up on us. Have you ever given up on yourself? Yes or yes? Krishna never gives up on you. We give up on ourselves. Krishna is trying to help us always. Have you ever given up trying to help yourself? Yes or yes? Krishna never gives up. Wow. So I'm just trying to make the point. I think you can understand the point I'm trying to make. Trying to make the point is that there's no problem in becoming Krishna conscious. There's no problem in going back to Godhead except one problem. The other, you know that problem, right? You know that problem well, don't you? What's the problem, Prabhu? Who do you know? Who do you know better than anyone in this world? Yourself. Well, that's the person who's creating the problem. It's not that Maya is creating the problem. It's not that Krishna is creating the problem. Krishna is helping and Maya is just doing her job. It's that we're creating the problem. And then another concept that I want to marry with this concept, because if we think in this way, it's very encouraging and it's very inspiring and it makes it easier to be Krishna conscious. We don't become Krishna conscious. Like we use this language, I'm trying to become Krishna conscious. You can't become Krishna conscious. Krishna conscious, you are part of the Chit Shakti. We come from Chit Shakti, even though we're marginal, we're part of Prakriti. In Bhagavad Gita, 5th verse, 7th chapter, Krishna describes Jiva Bhutam Mahabho. Besides this material bhumayarapona bayu kammano bodhari vacha hankara iti ame bina prakriti rashda. Those are the 5 gross and 3 subtle elements. Apariyam itas tanyam prakritim bidi me param. Me param. Besides Maya, besides these elements, understand there's another nature. Me param. What is that superior nature? Give yourself a big applause. Jiva Bhuta. It's us. We're the superior nature. That's the best thing you've heard all day, isn't it? My dear devotees, you are superior to Maya. Wow. Jiva Bhuta Mahabhaho Yedam Daryate Jagat, by which, but you desire to enjoy, and therefore you're entangled in this world. But the point is, if you think it's difficult to become Krishna conscious, change your wording. We don't become Krishna conscious. We uncover the Krishna consciousness that exists within us. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Sarukapunoi, Shravanadi Suda Chitte Kora Oda, Bhagavad Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema is eternally residing within the heart. And it's awakened, Shravanadi. by hearing and chanting, etc. Koraya Udoy. Udoy means it wakes up. It doesn't, the verse doesn't say by hearing and chanting, you create Krishna consciousness. It says you wake it up. So if it says you create Krishna consciousness, then it's like it's something outside of me. I'm in Maya, and Krishna consciousness is outside or different from me. So that can be a very discouraging way to think. And I think a lot of us kind of think in that way to some degree. Where this verse says, Koraya Udoy, you wake up your Krishna consciousness, you don't create it. So instead of saying, I'm trying to become Krishna conscious, you can say, I'm trying to wake up my Krishna consciousness. That's just, words have a very powerful effect on our consciousness. And just saying, what are you doing, Prabhu? I'm working, I'm peeling off the layers of the onion over my Krishna consciousness. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to peel the onions off so I could knock on the door and wake it up. It's there. So Krishna consciousness is there. We are part of the Chit Shakti, the spiritual energy. Krishna is incessantly trying to help us. What's the problem? Tell me, what's the problem? There is no problem, except one. And you know who that person is. That's the problem. And it's not Maya. Don't blame it on Maya. That's like so convenient when you become a devotee. Whenever you're not Krishna conscious, all you have to do is say, well, I'm in Maya today. So as if it's Maya's fault. If Maya didn't exist, I wouldn't be in Maya. Like it's her fault, like if she didn't exist, I'd have no problem. So it's her fault. No, no, it's my fault, right? So it's like everything's in our favor. Mahaprabhu's mercy, we are by nature Krishna conscious. Krishna is incessantly trying to help us. And what's the problem? You know the problem. So, and as long as we don't become the problem, there is no problem. You think Maya is the problem, the modes of nature is the problem. I'm stupid, that's the problem. I'm a man, woman, I'm not Indian, I'm not Indian. You think all these things are the problem. I don't live in the right city. The temperature is too hot, it's too cold. My husband's weird. My wife's crazy. Whatever you think, all these things are problems. No, it's not the problem. There is no problem. We're by nature Krishna conscious. We're spiritual energy. We are. Krishna says, Prakriti Bidhi, understand this is my superior nature. Who is the superior nature? Jiva Bhuta, the Jiva. We are superior. Of course, we understand the philosophy is that the superior nature it's tatashta. Tatashta means it's not infallible. It can be covered by Maya. There is a class of living entity who's not Jiva Tattva, who cannot be covered by Maya. You probably know you're not in that class because we got covered, so we're not in that class. That's not fair. How come I'm not Subal? Like who made that? Yeah, don't worry about it. You have Mahaprabhu's mercy, so you can be Subal's friend if you want. So I find that we need to think in ways, we always need to think in ways which motivate us, ways which make us optimistic, ways which are positive. And this is a very positive way to think about your Krishna consciousness, don't you think? It's way more positive than think, Maya's so strong, I'm so weak, it's so hard. I live in such a materialistic city and I have to work in a corporation and everybody's in Maya. And it's like, take out the violin, poor thing, right? And so it's almost like you're setting yourself up for being in Maya, because when you're in Maya, you go, well, what do you expect? I have a bad job, live in a bad city, got a bad husband, bad wife. This world's bad. Everything's bad. So So you do all the math, it's all bad. And what's the total? I'm in Maya. You ever seen that happen before? Yes? Like add it all up. Of course I'm in Maya. What do you expect? Look at where I live, you know? There's the nearest devotee is 25 miles away. You know, what do you expect? Of course I'm in Maya. Like flip it around. Think my nature, by nature, I'm Krishna conscious. That's who I am. I don't create it. I just uncover it. Mahaprabhu is unlimitedly merciful. Krishna is on my side. He's trying to help me, you know. All I have to do is let him help me. And so if I'm not doing well, I'm just not letting him help me. I'm not listening to him. Have you ever not listened to Krishna when he spoke to you? Has that ever happened to you? Yeah, Prabhu, since the beginning of time, I've been doing that. I know how to do it. I perfected it. Been doing it a long time. I'm really good at it. Yeah, I've got a lot of practice. How long you been practicing for getting Krishna? Uh, there was never a time when I remembered him. That's the problem. I've been practicing forever, forgetting him. And this person is on your side. He wants to help you. So all you have to say is, okay, Krishna, I'm ready. I'm ready to partner up with you. And Krishna said, okay, now it'll be easy because we're on the same team. I'll help you. Don't you think that's a better way of thinking than thinking, oh, sky's falling. I'll never be Krishna conscious. Maya's too strong. No. How many times has Krishna pulled you out of Maya in your life? I was telling that story the other day. I was on a walk and I was thinking about maybe I should do this. And I was thinking, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it's not a good idea. And at that moment, I almost fell over. I walked into a route that was going across the road and I almost fell over. I was like, oh, thanks, Krishna. I'm not going to do that. Have you ever had those experiences where it's like, Krishna's like, no, you're not going to do that. I won't let you. That's like, wow, so beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Uh, um, so Abhishek says, we even blame Krishna sometimes that he gave us free will. That's why we're in Maya. Okay. So Abhishek, you have no free will. So I guess right now you're stuck in the material world forever because you can't choose Krishna. What do you think? Good idea? You know, I heard a story about Gandhi. And when he wanted to get free from the British said, you don't have experience. You'll destroy the country. And he said, I don't care. We'll destroy the country, whatever. We just want our independence. So the point was being made that the desire for independence is so strong that we're even willing to ruin something just so we can do it our way. So the point was we say, oh, Krishna gave us independence. I wouldn't want it, but okay. So, you know, would have been better he didn't give it to us. Okay, we'll just take it away from you now. What do you think? Good idea? Would you like that? You can't decide anything. Well, Abhishek, we'll just decide everything for you. So boom, your independence is gone. Abhishek says, but I need to go to school. I have studies. No, I'm not letting you go. You have no independent choice. You can't. I'm controlling you and I don't want you to go. No, but I want to go. Or I have to go to work, you know. No, I'm not letting you go. Like, could you imagine not having independence? How difficult it would be. So as we said many times, the same independence that got you in this mess is the same independence that's going to get you out of this mess. So celebrate your independence because that's the thing that you have that is going to that's the facility for getting out of the material world is your independence. So independence is a great thing when it's used properly. And you know, Abhishek, since you're from India, you know about arranged marriages, right? So, you know, the couples that maybe your wife, maybe your parents are like this. They're arranged, they're dutiful, they stay together. But they may not even like one another because they didn't independently choose. Maybe it was the best marriage, maybe it was the best thing for them, you know, they were compatible and they raise good children. But if they didn't get to choose, sometimes in those marriages, it's like, do you like your wife? I wouldn't have chosen, say, well, if I had a choice, I wouldn't have chosen her. Right? Could, not always, but that could happen. Yes. Right? So they might think, I wish I could have chosen my wife. I wish I could have chosen my husband, but my parents chose it. All right. So it's hard not to have free will. Every teenager, when they turn 16, like, or 15 or 14, they're like flouting their free will, right? Don't tell me what to do. I'll do what I want. Or when they're 18 or 19. Yeah, you saw that with your kids, Rasa Stali. When they hit a certain age, it's like, don't tell me what to do. I'll make my own choices. Right? So we value independence. Right, if you notice asking, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying rather than coming up with problems or excuses, we should see it as we are spirit, soul, and eternally meant to be Krishna conscious, and Krishna's trying to help us. Yeah, everything is positive. I don't understand what to shift our mindset to because, well, they are excuses. That doesn't exactly eliminate them from our lives. Well, everything's positive, negative is about how you see it. It's not about what happens. It's about how you see what happens. Like if we're talking about positivity, then Radhavinod, you might think, okay, so where's the most positive place in the world I can go to? And you think of some like island somewhere, oh, you somewhere and go, oh, I know this island, I'll go there. Then everything will be positive. That's one thing, but obviously we know it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't mean everything's going to be positive all the time because, you bring in your own reality. So my point was, it is so encouraging to think that I am of the spiritual nature. That's who I am. Because when you're in Maya, it feels like you're a body, doesn't it? And a mind. When we're in Maya, we identify with the body, mind, and senses because the body, mind, and senses are pushing us. And then we start feeling helpless. How can I control my body and mind? Because we identify with it. As opposed to, I am spirit soul. My nature is Krishna conscious. I'm of the superior energy. I have nothing to do with this material energy. That's a much more positive way of thinking. And it is the reality. It's not like this is some artificial, hype. We're just trying to like fire you all up to be positive with some make-believe idea. No, but this is the reality. So I'm trying to be Krishna conscious. No, no, no. Yeah, you're trying to awaken your the Krishna conscious you already have. That's a very positive way of thinking, don't you think? The reality has not changed at all. The reality is still the same. It's just now you're focused on the reality. But what's going on around you, it's the same, but your internal reality is different. So Kamalochan says, living entity is either under control of external energy or internal energy. Choice is only restricted between these two options. Yeah. I mean, you have choices within those two options, millions of choices at every moment. But those are the main choice between Maya and Krishna. Because once you choose Maya, then you can choose a million varieties of Maya. And once you choose Krishna, you can choose a million varieties of Krishna. But Krishna definitely gives us the independence to choose him or not. That's important. Yes, good. It's good. It's bad we used our independence, and it's good he didn't take it away. What if we misuse our independence, came to the material world, and Krishna said, you misuse your independence, I'm taking it away. And now he says, all right, so you're here in the material world, this is where you want to be. I've taken away your independence, you stay here. Not good, right? So celebrate your independence, everyone. It's a good thing you have it. isn't it? Now, it's hard to celebrate your independence when you misuse it, but if you use it properly, you can celebrate it. Okay, let's read the purport. Only Krishna can deliver us from this material existence. Indeed, he is always trying to deliver us. He is within our hearts and is not at all inattentive. His only aim is to deliver us from material life. It is not that he becomes attentive to us only when we offer prayers to him. Even before we offer our prayers, he incessantly tries to deliver us. He is never lazy in regard to our deliverance. It is the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord that he always tries to bring us back home, back to Godhead. God is liberated, and he tries to make us liberated. But although he is constantly trying, we refuse to accept his instructions. Nonetheless, he has become angry. He has not become angry. Therefore, he is described here as Bhuri Karunaya, unlimitedly merciful in delivering us from this miserable material condition of life and taking us back to Godhead. So this puts, okay, here's the time to feel guilty. If you like feeling guilty, here's a good time. There's a person helping you go back to Godhead, and he's always helping. But we may not be accepting his guidance. The last thing Prabhupada said. He's unlimitedly merciful in delivering us from this miserable condition of material life and taking us back to Godhead. Although he is constantly trying, we refuse to accept his instructions. Wow. That's very heavy, don't you think? Like, could you imagine, Priyanka, Krishna came over and said, hey, I got a plan for you, for getting you out of the material world. And you said, never mind, I'm not interested. That would be horrible, right? And all the other devotees would say, Priyanka, what is wrong with you? And you say, I've got ambitions and I don't know if I'm ready to surrender. And you have other points. And so we make all these points and we think, well, but it's just normal, like I'm a conditioned soul. Yeah. Could you imagine you telling those things to Krishna? I don't think you could, right? We tell them to Maya, but we wouldn't tell them to Krishna. So something to meditate on. We refuse to accept his instructions. He said, no, I read Bhagavad Gita every day. Okay, that's nice. Do you follow it? You accept it, yeah, you have faith, but do you follow it? Or are you following it or are you fighting it? Have you ever fought Krishna's instructions? I don't want to do that. It's too hard. Maybe. Yeah. Prayers by category, document page 4. Okay. Now we're talking. You have Chaitanya Dasi. Let me see if I have that document. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, I have that document. I knew. Yeah, I'm not as thought I was losing my mind. Anyway, it's Krishna's arrangement that we could discuss this. But we can discuss more prayers. Prayers of Bhakti Thakur. So we have a question. Deep says, I think about a strange thing. Why is there even existence of negative things? I mean, desire to enjoy material or things separate from Krishna. Why there's even existence of them that makes one choose it and drown in the material world? Because we wanted it. I mean, there was no existence of nasty things or of desire, misusing independence or enjoying those. Jiva wouldn't be away from the spiritual world. Yeah, but he wants those things. Those, it's like, like deep. You go to a cafeteria, like, or whatever you call it in India. Most of your restaurants are like we call them cafeterias. You have there's a name for it. You have all the food out, right? And you just serve yourself. What do you call that in India?
Buffet. Buffet.
Buffet.
Buffet, yeah,
Buffet.
buffet, yeah. A buffet, it's a French word, yeah. I suppose the word I was looking for. So deep, you ever go to a buffet and then, there's this one restaurant in Bangalore, it's called Satwa, and they have like 5, 6 fried foods. I would say like 9 desserts, 9 subjis. Any of you ever been there? Don't go. You've been there?
Yes.
Yeah. And how many days did it take for you to recuperate? 3 days in the hospital after you go to Satwa restaurant. Look, if you go there, pretty much the afternoon is like, you just don't make any appointments after you go to that restaurant because you'll be asleep. So, so you go to the Satwa restaurant and then you come out and you're like, right? Why do they have to put so many sweets there? You're blaming it on the cooks. Why, if you ever overeat, you can blame it on the cook. And so this was so good. If the cook wasn't so good, I wouldn't have overeaten. There's some truth to that, right? But ultimately, you overate. Nobody put the food, nobody was coming, shoving food in your mouth. You have your own hand did it, right? So it's something like that, Why do they have to make so many things in the restaurant? Well, because some people want them, but they have healthy things also. You just didn't eat the healthy things. So, it's like, why did Krishna have to make women so beautiful? You want to know why? Deep, what would you do if all the women weren't beautiful? You say, well, then I'd be a brahmachari, yeah. But if all the women weren't beautiful, you would have already gone back to Godhead, right? He was like, I guess I have no need to be in this world, So Krishna, why don't you make them all like 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide, and deep, Prabhupada said, you'd even be attracted then if they were as wide as they were tall. The desire to enjoy is so strong. So because we have such a strong desire to enjoy, Krishna says, I know what you want to eat, and then maybe someday you decide that's not a good thing to eat. But so it's like Krishna's just fulfilling what we want, even though what we want is not good for us. Why is he giving us what we want if it's not good for us? Because we want it. And the only way you're going to learn it's not good for you is to overindulge in it. Right? Eat at Satwa restaurant, like, 2 times. You won't go back the 3rd time. You go, I'm not going back. It's like, forget it, I just like put on 10 years after that meal. Basically you eat at least twice what you would normally eat, right? Twice, 2.5. Yeah. Now everybody's like, I'm going to that restaurant. I can't imagine how good it is. No, don't go. Oh, yeah. Shruti Priya says, how lovely Krishna is and how lazy we are. Yeah. I think thinking like that is good. There's this person who's like encouraging you and you're like fighting it. Krishna's helping you, from within, facilitating. And it's like having parents that are just like providing the best for you, and you go out and get drunk. It's like that. Question. And in what extent is the modes of material nature choosing for us? So our responsibility to assume we choose what mood we're going to feed. Well, it's something like choosing where you want to go on a trip. So you choose to go to London. So you get on the plane to London. You made all those choices. And so when you get on the plane to London and the plane's in the air, then you have no control over where you're going. So you're being controlled by the plane, but you chose to be controlled by the plane. So you could say the modes of passion and ignorance are controlling me, but who chose to be controlled by them? So like Krishna says, we don't do anything, it's done by the modes, but what do? We desired. And so the modes are facilities that fulfill our particular desire to be in a certain mode of nature. But we chose that mode. It's like, turn the lights off in the room, you'll be in a dark room. And if you're in a dark room, you can't see. But you're the one who turned the light off. So, there are certain conditions that follow in the darkness. You can't get things done, you might fall over, and so forth. So it's the fault of the darkness that you fell over, but it's your fault you turned the light off. So if you're turning the lights off in your life, and then you're blaming it on Maya, if the lights were on, you wouldn't have had a problem in the first place. So I think that's clear, right? Prabhu, I'm in the mode of ignorance. It's just pushing me around. Yeah, well, who was in charge of you getting in the mode of ignorance? Who made that decision? Who did that? Well, the mode of ignorance just showed up. Okay, who decided not to leave it? Who decided to stay in it? Well, I was going by this store and I saw this dress in the window and these earrings, and I just had to go in and look. And then I looked, and it was so cute. And I just really wanted it, even though I'm $100 million in debt. And I just couldn't control myself, and I bought it. Well, if you want to control yourself, just don't go in the store because you know your weakness. But, did anybody push you in the store? No, you walked in. So now you walk in the store and you know this is your weakness. If you're an alcoholic, don't go to a bar. If you're trying to, stop drinking. So if you go in the bar, you're going to drink. So it's like that. So once you put yourself in the mode of ignorance acts. And then Krishna says that we're all helplessly controlled. But yeah, we're helplessly controlled by the modes. If that's true, what mode do you want to be helplessly controlled by? I would suggest sattva. What about you? If you're going to be controlled by some mode, why not sattva? What do you think? And so you have to make an independent choice to act in a sattvic way, or vishuddha sattva. I hope that answers your question. Chaitanya Dasi says, the good is even bad without Krishna. Yeah. You ever been somewhere that's really nice? Perfect weather, perfect beach, pineapples growing in the ground, papayas, trees, mangoes, just everything is perfect. And there's no Krishna. And then you say, it's so nice here, but there's no Krishna. And you feel like empty. You ever had that experience? Like you have everything but Krishna, and you just feel like you ate a meal and you're still hungry. You ever had that one? You eat a meal, a big meal, and you finish and you're like starving. You're more hungry than when you started. That's like that. Yeah. Deep is saying, I mean to say, where from the nasty want or desire is coming from? I am puzzled. From you? Look no further. It's not like some alien entity came down when you were sleeping and put those desires there. Those are your desires. But how can the pure living entity be covered? Because they want to be separate from Krishna. That's how. So, the question now, Deep, is how to reverse reverse engineering. How to get the desire of the soul to be the desire of my mind and my life. It didn't have to be this way. We didn't have to remain here in the material world. Like deep. Why do you think you're still here after unlimited lifetimes? Whose fault is it? Whose desire is it? It's yours. It's mine. It's ours. So, why am I so stupid? That's a good question. Ask yourself that. Why was I so stupid? And why am I still stupid? Ask yourself that question. It's a good question. And the answer is because I'm stupid. That's the only answer. So then the next logical statement would be, so stop being stupid. I got in this mess because I'm stupid. Stop being stupid. Abhishek, the mode of goodness doesn't feel good enough. Yeah, when you engage it in Krishna's service, it'll feel good enough. Like you go, have a very sattvic environment and chant your rounds in a sattvic environment. So the sattva is the platform, the soil where you can plant the seed of bhakti. If you're trying to plant the seed of bhakti in tamagun or rajagun, all I can say is that's like trying to grow a garden in cement. You wouldn't plant it in cement. It doesn't work. So we have to plant it in sattva is just fertile soil for it. So, if you have fertile soil and you don't plant any seeds, what's the point? But if you're going to plant seeds, you have to plant it in sattva. If you plant it in passion and ignorance, it doesn't work. You know that from experience. Right? Yes? You ever try to plant the holy name in a passionate mind or an ignorant mind and heart? It doesn't grow. It's like, it doesn't work there. And you might say, well, won't the holy name get me out? It's better not to be in the first place, don't you think? If you fall over, I can give you a hand and pick you up. But if you fall in a well, it's a lot more difficult, right? So, if you're in sattva, then you fall, you just fall into sattva. But if you have a tamasic nature and you fall into tamas, and it's hard to get you out. Like if a very, very sattvic person becomes a devotee, then everybody knows, well, if this person ever decided not to be a devotee, they would just fall into sattva guna. From Vishuddha Sattva, so they'd still be like following all the principles. They'd still have all these good qualities. They're just, not that they wouldn't be devotee, but if they fell from bhakti, they would just fall into a very spiritual sattvic life. So, if you cultivate sattva, then if you ever slip up in your bhakti, you'll just slip into sattva, which is not really a problem because it's fertile soil. Right? But if you cultivate passion and ignorance, then it's a problem when you fall. It's harder to get out. Correct? TK? Acha. Acha. Clear? That's pretty clear, right? Some devotees think, we don't want sattva gun. But, I'm not into sattva gun. Cool. What gun are you into? Because you're not transcendental. So if you say I'm not into sattva gun, indirectly you're saying I'm into rajas or tamas. Because, you could say, well, I'm into being transcendental. Well, sorry for the bad news, but until you're a pure devotee, you can't be transcendental 24/7. You can try, but even sometimes trying, like we're doing sadhana, our consciousness is not transcendental, right? So when we say be sattvic, we're saying, of course, we're saying, be in Shuddha Sattva. Of course, be in Shuddha Sattva. But at least until you are able to do that, your life should be sattvic. Like we were saying in the Shishastaka, when we're covering the Shishastaka in the course. It's not just about being humble while you chant. It's about being humble to everyone always. That's sattva guna, right? You think, I'm not into being sattva. Okay, so I'm into being transcendental. I go to the temple and I'm respectful to everyone. And then I go to my job and yell and scream at everyone. So I go from Vishuddha Sattva to Tamaguna. Like, so we don't want that, right? So when you say I can't be Krishna conscious unless I'm at the temple, or it's impossible to be Krishna conscious in the world, or it's impossible to be Krishna conscious at my job, basically you're saying, I'm into being transcendental, but from 9 to 5, it's all tamagun. So then I think you can understand what Prabhupada meant and said we should be in sattva gun, so that when you leave the transcendental Vishuddha sattva of the temple, you're still sattvic. You're still, sattva is basically spiritual, right? More or less, at least for us it is. Otherwise, there was a song by Simon and Garfunkel when I was a kid. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Yeah, so that's kind of like the Conditioned Soul's national anthem. Hello, Tamaguna, my old friend. I've come to wrestle with you again. Yeah, isn't it? So better wrestle with sattva guna. Your life will be easier. Kamalochan. Yeah, you have to transcend, but have to and do are two different actions, right? There's a difference between have to and do, right? I have to chant Shuddhanam. Okay, good. Go for it. But what about now? At least chant Namabas, right? No, but we have to chant Shuddhanam. But you can't just do it, because until you're pure, how can you just do it? So you chant Namabas, that will make you pure. So the goal is to be transcendental. But how do you become transcendental? By being sattvic in everything. So what does sattvic mean? It means I know I'm not the body. It means I'm compassionate. It's a brahminical samadamas taposo cham chanti rajam. I'm honest. I have integrity. I'm clean. I'm religious. Sama. I'm equally. I mean, doesn't that help? Like if you're equal to everyone, isn't that what it? So if you look at the qualities of a Brahman, there are qualities of a Vaishnava also. But at least you can at least. If you're going to fall into samadamas taposo cham, right? And if you're a devotee, yeah, you're not going to identify as a Brahmin like caste-wise, occupation-wise. I'm transcendental. I'm servant of Krishna. But in terms of interactions within this world, it's like if you are completely transcendental, Kamalochan, your wife would be very lonely, because you'd probably be in a cave in Govardhan like 24 hours a day, right? Or you'd buy a caravan and you'd be on the road preaching like in every university in India, and sleeping in the van and like eating, rice and sabji, and that's it, right? If you were really transcendental, right? If you were really Vishuddha Sattva, and probably be chanting 64 rounds and all of that, your family would never see you again. You'd be like, it's all mine. I don't want to see them. So, sometimes we did that, Kamalochan. We tried to do that Vishuddha Sattva stuff when we were 19, as new brahmacharis. So we were a bit crazy, But really, underlying all of that was a lot of passion and ignorance, because that's where we came from. But we're trying to transcend. So you have to be careful. If you're trying to transcend, you got to be careful to do it gradually so you actually do it. Otherwise, it's like you're doing it externally, but internally, it's like passion and ignorance. It's just like dominating us, right? I mean, for us, it's like we were with the Prabhupada, so we saw what it's like to be transcendental. Like there's a story you might have heard. Prabhupada was preaching all day. He opened the Krishna Balaram temple. I believe this is what happened. The big ceremony and the whole thing. It was a big, big thing went on. I think it was even 2 days. And then the devotees went somewhere on a program and they all came back really late at night, like 11 or 12, right? And one devotee said he got diarrhea or dysentery. So when he got back, he like couldn't sleep. So he like midnight, he went to the temple. And they all got back like 11 or something. They've been going all day. Everyone was exhausted. And so he couldn't sleep. So he thought, well, I'll just go to the temple and chant. He got to the temple. Prabhupada's light was on. He was still awake. He hadn't even gone to sleep and he was translating. That's what it means to be transcendental. So I should be and I could be are two different things. So we are engaged in transcendental activities, that's for sure. We should be engaged in transcendental activities, but the question is, are you transcendental when you're engaged in transcendental activities? Can you think of Maya and chant Hare Krishna at the same time? Is that possible? If you don't know the answer, just try it. You can do it. I mean, I'm not recommending it, but it's possible, right? I mean, have some devotees, like they're trying to get their rounds done and they're like watching a Bollywood movie or whatever they're watching, So it's possible to be in Maya and externally be engaged in bhakti. Like young brahmacharis, they're going on Sankirtan. In America, during the week, they go to the shopping centers. We have these big shopping centers in America, malls, something like that. And it's like 90% women, at least it used to be. Because in those days, mostly women were not working. And so they're distributing books telling these women about Krishna and how beautiful Krishna is. Do you think it's possible? And then sometimes they go to rock concerts. That was even more difficult. It's at night, people are high or drunk. Do you think it's possible to tell some woman, or young brahmachari, to tell some woman how beautiful Krishna is while he's thinking, she's so beautiful? You think that's possible? If you don't know the answer, I'll give you a hint. The first word starts with Y and ends with S. Yeah, it's possible, isn't it? Krishna is so beautiful, he has lotus eyes, and so do you. And he has this beautiful smile, and so do you. And he has a threefold bending form, beautiful figure, and so do you. You think that happens? Yeah, it happens. Definitely happens, right? So you're engaged in Vishuddha Sattva activities, but your consciousness is in passion. So when Prabhupada says, be sattvic, it's like, at least be sattvic, that's the best launching platform to go Vishuddha Sattva, right? I think that answers your question, Kamalochan. From the question you asked me that I didn't answer, does that answer it? More or less. I'm not saying, don't be don't transcend. Of course, that's the goal, right? We're not just trying to be sattvic, but because we're devoted. See, the thing is, if I said this to non-devotees, I would be cheating them. But if I say to devotees, I'm not, because we're already doing devotional service. And so this is just the best soil or the best launching platform for bhakti. And I think that makes it more clear, doesn't it? Like if I just went out and said, you have to be sattvic to people who aren't devotees, everyone would look at me and think, are you going to give them bhakti? And say, yeah, we'll give them bhakti, don't worry. But if I didn't give them bhakti, like call the GBC, Mahatma Prabhu's in Maya, he's just talking about sattva guna. He wants everybody to be sattvic. And he even named his company Sattva Life. This is mine. But we're creating a platform. We have a division of Sattva Life, which is Vishuddha Sattva Life. So that's, we get them in the door and then, okay, Sattva, be vegetarian. Sattva, control your senses. You'll be happy if you control your senses. If you renounce, you'll be happy. Sattva, okay, now chant this mantra. Now Vishuddha Sattva. Yeah. I think that's clear. This is from, how is it possible to be in Sattva Guna every time? Wait. Even when one wants to be in sattva guna, but when the forces outside of us in Kali Yuga, like city life is full of passion ignorance, how do we protect ourselves? Well, we need a new t-shirt. Write this down, Chaitanya Das, you can send it to Ashalada. When Maya comes, run. I think we should have had that t-shirt made or a button or something, you know. How about a tattoo? Right here on your arm. When Maya comes, run. What I thought of doing was having an analysis of what sattva guna is, and it's like a checklist. So you can like check your life out, how many sattva points did I get this week, And so, was I kind to people? Was I regulated? Was I sense controlled? Did I overeat? How much time did I spend on these doing rajasic and tamasic things? And how much time did I spend hearing, So if you just start thinking, then you can realize that, you need to be more sattvic in how you relate with people, what you read, what you speak about, what you hear, what you eat, and so on, right? And then you can, somebody want to make up a sattvic checklist? I thought of doing that for companies, have a sattvic checklist. And we will come in, and this is our motto, Hari Bhakti, this is our motto. We can do this in India. You've got problems, we've got sattva. So all your because all your problems come from rajas and tamas. That's where all your problems are. Your problems do not come from being in goodness. They come from rajas and tamas. So you want to do that, Mathura? Go out in the corporations and say, we have a sattvic checklist, and we're going to go through your company, and we're going to raise you from passion or ignorance up to sattva, and you're going to see your whole company is going to change. And then after we do that, then next level of Vishuddha Sattva will take you to transcendence. And so you've got problems, we've got sattva. We make our checklist, like go through everything. I think Hari Bhakti could probably help you because he's in corporation. Any of you who worked in corporations, it's just, you can just monitor everything. How people are working, how they're taught. But look at the way you're talking, you're criticizing. Tamas, you need to be appreciating sattva. Isn't that cool? What,
Sounds brilliant.
So you come in and you say, well, what are your problems here? And they say, well, that's our problem. You go, well, in sattva guna, with sattva, you would do it this way. In passion, you do it this way. In ignorance, you do it this way. So they would understand. Yeah, we could do that, sattva life. Sattva life comes to life with the sattvic, checklist. How much, so we go in and we analyze what modes you're in. And, we already know by analyzing your modes, we already know your problems. And the other thing is, this is really cool, Hari Bhakti, we can do this. Things are only going to last in sattva guna. In passion, ignorance, they don't last. So how many companies did not last? Because of the way, they're going for short-term benefits, destroying the earth, destroying their own employees, cheating their customers. That's total passion. Short-term benefits. Nectar now, poison in the end. Your company won't last. And we can go down the list of companies that didn't last. But go to the companies that lasted and you can show, here's sattva. Interesting idea, right? Maybe Mathura and Hari Bhakti can work on it. Any of you who have corporate experience, you can add to it. There's a devotee here in Alachua. I asked her to think about it also. I think it's a great idea. Right? You've got problems, we've got sattva. And then we'll leave and say, you had problems, now you have sattva. So that you've got problems, we've got sattva. You had problems, you have sattva. That's what we say at the end. Okay. We've got 1 minute and lots of questions. Vaishnava Parad, does that lower our Krishna consciousness? No, it destroys it. how to overcome it, how to understand my triggers. Comes from a lack of humility, basically, insecurity, low self-esteem, trying to bring others down, dissatisfied. Ultimately, it comes from being dissatisfied and not appreciating what you have. So you're like jealous of others and so on. Yeah, this is such an important question. Where does it come from? And the answer to that is you all should answer it. Where does criticism come from for you? Because there are many different reasons. And where it comes from for me may be different from where it comes from for you. But it's destructive. Well, let's put it this way, Mona. It's tamagun. So if you're criticizing everyone, what mode are you in? It's like, when we're looking at our activities, we just ask ourselves, what mode is that? Right? And I'm appreciating someone. Well, what mode is that? Well, at least it's sattva, if not vishuddha sattva. Right? So if you think in terms of modes, if we all thought in terms of modes, then it would be easier, wouldn't it? Because we'd be like, oh, this is tamasic. It's like in the forgiveness course. One of the things I teach in the forgiveness course is, why would you hold on to resentment? It's a tamasic consciousness. It binds you to tamagun. I can't forgive. They don't deserve it. It's just so difficult, etc., etc. Fine, I understand that. But the consequence is you're being gripped by tamagun. That's what's going on. That's all. That's what it is. So if you look at it in terms of modes of nature, it's easier to deal with. And where's tamagun on the chart of the material world? It's in the bottom. Where's Krishna? He's out of it. Where's sattvagun? It's on the top. So what's closer to Krishna? Tamagun or sattvagun? Oh, okay. Let me demonstrate. Krishna's here, tamagun's here, sattvagun's here. What's closer? Okay, even a 3-year-old could figure that one out. So you want to live down here and Krishna's here? It's a long way to go. Envy, jealousy, resentment, anger, hatred, and so forth. What about compassion, kindness, spiritual knowledge, sense control? It's all up here. In and of itself, it's not going to get you Krishna, but you're already devotees. So therefore, that's your goal of doing all those things. And Krishna's right there. Does that make sense? So if you think in terms of the modes of nature, it all makes sense, doesn't it? Yes, good. Can you save these questions and we can entertain them? What I would need, Chaitanya Lila, what I need you to do is save these questions and then just write a little paragraph so you can remind me of the context of this discussion. Because by next Monday, I will have given Thursday night a class, Friday morning, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And I will have given 4 or 5 classes. I will forget. So if you can remind us of this, then we can answer your questions. So make sure you all come on Monday to get your questions answered. Hare Krishna. So I have to leave now, go to the dermatologist. They're going to remove my stitches, which probably I could do myself, but I don't want to mess it up. I have some more stitches. I'm being stitched up all the time. And Hare Krishna. And I'm leaving tomorrow for another place in America, Cincinnati. If any of you are near Cincinnati or Columbus, I'll be there. And we'll still give classes in the mornings. So I'll be free. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada. I'm going to have to leave you now, all. Nice to see you. And stay out of Maya. Stay at least in Sattva-guna. If you have to be in Maya, at least be in Sattva-guna. No, that's not a good statement, but you understand. Don't post that. Don't post that on my Facebook page. I get these posts, they're completely out of context, and I look at them, I go, can't post that. they'll kick me out of ISKCON. But you understand the context. If you have to be in Maya, at least be in Sattva Guna. Okay, and we'll answer your other questions on Monday because Friday we have other questions, I think. Hare Krishna.